He'll get your life back to normal. Lonnie with Restore It Restoration.
Welcome to another edition of the Service Guys podcast. Today I have my producer, Ruel Abadam, on the other line. He's doing all the sound engineering and recording. And today I have the luxury of bringing on the very first guest that actually has a list of achievements that's searchable on Google. You can find out she's a wife, a mother, a cookbook author, a stand-up comedian, a podcaster, an actress, a writer, a producer, and probably, I'm going out on a limb here, probably the only guest that has ever signed a NDA, non-disclosure agreement. With that, I would like to welcome my friend, Anna Vocino, to the podcast.
Wait, signed, thank you. Signed an NDA with you guys? Was I supposed to sign an NDA with the Service Guys podcast?
You didn't know that? You didn't get that email?
I didn't. Ruel, that's on Ruel.
Yeah, he does all
my people on it.
If it's internet, Facebook, Twitter, if it's any of that, that's Ruel. I don't do that. So.
Listen, I'm going to divulge all of your inner secrets because I have not signed an NDA yet. So until I sign that paper, I could be tweeting all of your podcasting secrets. Of course, you know all my podcasting secrets.
And I can tweet your personal cell phone, your personal address.
That's right.
Email account.
Yeah.
We're off to a great
blow you. We can dox you.
I like starting a podcast interview with blackmail.
There you go.
Or extortion. Which one would it be technically, blackmail or extortion?
I think it depends on who lays the hand out first. I think it's going to be extortion.
Okay, that's me. I did that.
Okay, yeah. You threw the gauntlet.
Yeah.
Yes. So, with all your list of credentials, and the main reason why we're going to talk today is you provide a very unique service that I didn't really know nothing about until I met you and started listening to you and your podcast. We have the luxury of a voiceover actress. Is it a voiceover actress, professional? What do you call yourself?
Anything. Voiceover talent, voiceover actor, actress, voiceoverist. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
Voice afterthought, because most people don't think about voices, but you hear them all the time, whether you're watching TV or the radio's playing, or even you pull the cord on the toy and the toy makes a noise, or Siri makes a sound.
Right.
You just don't think about it.
And
but
you can almost
yes.
Right, and you can almost tell how many times I watch TV, because how many times have I texted you, Anna? Did you do the list of health hazards if you take this drug? And you're like, yep, nope, whatever.
Yeah.
Or can't say.
Well, I always tell you though.
Well,
that's
I've done the same. I remember walking around Disneyland thinking, is that Anna? Then I text her and find out, do you remember doing something for Disneyland? She's like, I don't know. I've done so many things. I
got in a fight with my friend Andrea Anders one time because she called me and she goes, oh no, she wrote Lubriderm ? And I was like, yeah, that's a question. I don't know. And then she goes, no, did you do a Lubriderm spot? And I was like, no, I didn't do a loop. What are you talking about? And then she writes, damn, that girl sounds just like you. And that to me is like the most annoying thing to hear, because you're like, well, okay, but it's not. So I don't know how to control the lady who sounds just like me, who gets all the jobs. And so I got annoyed with Andrew. I was like, no, I didn't do it. And she's like, are you sure? And I was like, no, I didn't do it. And then my friend Joanne texts me later and says, oh, I heard you on a Lubriderm spot.
And wow.
I know. And I went and I looked in my email and I had indeed done that spot.
No kidding.
That's how much of an a-hole I am to my friends. Well, I get annoyed.
I don't want to be on your bad side.
No.
Jergens, Anna, Jergens?
No, goddammit! Oh, so
I don't know if I ever told you this. I didn't know if I've ever told you this, Anna, but remember a few years ago when your gun control PSA video went viral?
Yes. The one where the
Yes.
kids play with the dildos thinking.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's like, yeah, I saw it because everybody that we're friends with was posting it. And then it became really cool when my local friends that don't know nothing about nobody, you know what I mean? They're posting it. Check this out. And I'm like, I know the one in blue. It's like, that's pretty cool when it hit my Facebook page and like, as a, check this one out.
And that one's funny. It keeps circling back around about once or twice a year. There's a new resurgence with it. But that was the first thing I'd ever done that went truly viral. And just to watch something go from like maybe 10 or 20,000 hits to like 40 million hits. It was insane.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it was crazy, and it keeps coming back and having a little resurgence. And also, Kurt Leopard pointed out to me, a mutual friend of ours, pointed out to me that it is now a GIF.
It is. Yes,
It's a GIF.
To tell you that the other day.
I'm a GIF, y'all. I'm a GIF. The GIF.
Yeah, that was
on GIFing.
That's when you've made notoriety, right? You get paid millions off of each one of those.
Right. Yeah, $1 million GIFs.
That's the legacy, the PSA.
That's
right
what I'm
there.
leaving behind to this world, you guys. Is a dildo GIF.
So Anna, let's talk voiceover, and then we can touch on a lot of other stuff. I mean, like you said, I mean, nobody really thinks about it. How did you stumble into it? How did you land? I mean, I've heard you talk about best way to learn how to voiceover is to read to your kids and Goodnight Moon. I still have Goodnight Moon memorized, and I haven't read it in 12 years. But
every parent has Good night, old lady, whispering hush. Yeah, we got it.
Yes.
We got it.
Yes,
still,
yes.
My daughter's 19, and I still got it up in the old noggin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
totally.
Do people grow up wanting to be a voiceover talent, or do you stumble into it? Do you? How do you land that? How do you get there?
It's just like, I don't know. That's a good question. Let me think about this. Okay, so I always wanted to be a comedic actor, basically. I've always wanted to do that. And I've always wanted to voice cartoons. Oh, I'm obsessed with cartoons. I still watch every animated movie. I love Pixar movies. I love all those movies. Even the bad animated movies I appreciate. And so I always grew up wanting to do that. And having a single mom who was always working, and I wasn't allowed to watch TV, but I would sneak TV. And so watching cartoons was like a big, good escape for me. I was raised by the TV. Sorry about that, folks.
I think we all were.
Yeah, we all were. And during that was that era, where parents had to work and we just stayed home and snuck some TV. But yeah, so I always wanted to be an actor, and I trained to be an actor, and I wound up being an improviser for many years. I founded a theater in Atlanta when I was 20 years old called Whole World Theater that's still there. And then I moved to LA with my husband and my 2-year-old daughter, which, to pursue acting, which is really a terrible idea. We didn't have enough money. We had no dollars, no hope of anything, but we definitely had some ambition and some hope. And we managed to get some work and support our child at the same time and buy a house. So that's really all you can really ask for, especially working as an actor, because it's sometimes a very unprofitable excursion. But I figured out really right when I got married, when I was 25, I was like, I want to be that lady who voices the commercials. And I auditioned for a job and I got it, and it paid $2,000. And that's $2,000 in, $1998. That was like the most money I'd ever seen. I was like, I should hire a financial planner. This is so much money. I can't believe this. And I was like, and all I did was, and I'm not saying all I did because it is a skill. I had to go and read a really funny commercial, and I had to be funny on a microphone. And I got my $2,000, and I was like, that's it. I have to do this. And I wound up, Atlanta's a different market. So I was living in Atlanta at the time, and I wound up booking a lot of jobs before I moved to LA. And I brought all that work with me, brought copies of my work to LA. And then I tried to compete in the LA market, and I learned very quickly, this is where a lot of big dogs are. So you got to have your ducks in a row. And I needed training, and I needed to learn to pronounce things a little less regionally and a little more neutrally. Like I was saying umbrella and insurance, and they're pronounced umbrella and insurance, and it still sounds weird to say them that way, but you know.
And you still say water.
I still say water, and but I will pronounce it properly. I will use my gifts correctly when I'm being paid to, but when it's just me casual, I will say umbrella. You need your umbrella because there's a lot of water outside, so I will say that. So yeah, hold on. I'm taking a sip of water. So I studied, and I studied really hard, and I think that my performing improv over 1,000 shows, and I think that my acting training and my singing, I had a lot of singing training and choral background and voice coaching, and that all helped. So it all was kind of a nice confluence into this is something that I could be good at. However, I don't sound like a typical voiceover-y person. Like the dudes all have that like growly Don LaFontaine voice, you know, and Abel James, that gorgeous melty voice. And the ladies, especially at the time, the big popular sound was like the Demi Moore. They called it the dented can, where she's like really raspy and just cool sound. Like I can't even like imitate it. Like she's just that was the voice that was really popular at the time. And I kind of just had to work really hard to book jobs. And the first jobs I started booking out in Los Angeles were video games. And that kind of fulfilled my little animation desire that I've had going since I was a little kid, you know? And it just grew from there. And then I got the ABC job, which was 4 years ago. There's a night of shows on ABC called TGIT, which at the time
has it been 4 years?
It has been 4 years. At the time was Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, and How to Get Away with Murder, which I had to learn how to say How to Get Away with Murder really quickly to fit it in the allotted time. I was booked to promo that night of shows, and I kind of was like, okay, that's fun. I've done promos before. That'll be great. And then my agent was freaking out. And then when I did my sessions with ABC, they were freaking out because they had been working for years to try to get a female voice on the air. And again, it's something you don't think about, gender parity in promo voices, but we're so used to hearing that Father Knows Best, like tonight on CBS, watch this cop drama. You know, we're not used to hearing a woman's voice selling us on shows. So it was actually kind of a big deal. I was the first female on a network night of shows. And
never thought about it.
Never thought about it. But, you know, I'm just breaking the glass ceiling. That's all.
We are the same age, or roughly the same age.
I'm older than you are.
Yeah, you and Ruel are the same age. I'm a baby at 43, so
oh, you tiny.
I won't say your age.
I'm 45. I'll say it. I don't care. Back in
the was it 80s or 90s? I remember every that male voiceover guy saying Sunday, and they were always advertising the monster truck rally or whatever. I grew up in the redneck sticks of Missouri, so it was like,
I remember
Sunday.
Monster. And you're like, I want to go to that monster truck rally. That looks fun. Because you had that guy's
Dad took me to Bigfoot one time, years and years.
Oh,
man, I was tiny.
I bet that was
the
cool
biggest
to see,
truck
though.
it was. And it was the biggest truck I'd ever seen. And it still is, even as a 6-foot man. It's still a big truck. But
I remember the ads for Evel Knievel were like that too. You're probably too young to remember Evel Knievel, but that he would come to town and do like motorcycle shows, and it was that same voiceover for concert promotions. So
you were the first. Voice. You were the first female VO on national television, national lineup. In the world of promos, to promo a whole night of shows, I think they had tried some one-offs, you know, but to have a regular campaign was a big deal. And it was funny because it was one of those things where I had written it in my like things I want to accomplish lists, but I was like, whatever, I'm not going to get that. You know, I'm not going to get that. They never cast women for that, but I wrote it down anyway. I was like, okay, well, we'll try it. And now they're casting more women, so that's good. My wife found my 100 list of bucket list thing, you know. she pointed out to me that somewhere down around 58 or 68 or something like that was I wanted to have a pool girl. And then about 75 or 83, I needed a pool. My wife pointed that one out to me. She's like, backwards order.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, now it's
So
in
now
silence.
that's called a pregnant pause.
A
That's all.
pregnant pause.
Isn't that what a pregnant pause is?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So you were telling me earlier that you now have a new role in your voiceover world.
Yes.
You want to tell us about that one?
Yeah, my very first on-camera agent in Atlanta is named Richard. He's still very much alive. Well, God rest his soul. No, he's called Richard. And when I was 22 years old, like he worked for an agency and he cast me in all kinds of commercials, voiceover and on-camera stuff. And he was one of the first ones to call me in 2001 when we decided to move to LA. He called me and he was like, "Now, Anna, you got to go to Guitar Center." That's literally exactly how he talks. "You got to go to Guitar Center and get yourself a microphone and plug it into your computer and you can send me auditions over email." And I was like, "Richard, I am never, ever going to figure out how to plug a microphone into my computer. That's awful. Like what? I could never figure that out."
And look at you now. You can't even travel.
I can't go anywhere without the damn thing. But what happened was it actually took me until 2005 to realize he was right. And that everything with voiceover has gone digital and subsequently international. I can get my friend Adam Bear, who lives in South Africa, I can get him to voice something, and over Skype. And we have a session and that's great. So anyway, so Richard was very ahead of the curve on that. And he wound up starting his own voiceover management company called RSH Management. And he called me about a year ago now, maybe not even. And we kind of were having talks. He said, "I think I'm getting ready to retire. Would you and Lauren," who's my husband, "would you and Lauren think about taking over my business?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds like a great idea." And eventually you age out, especially as a woman. Unfortunately, you age out of working as often as you do. The 30s and 40s are a real sweet spot for women. And I was like, eventually I'm going to sound too old and I won't get as many jobs. And I'm going to wonder, I wish I had done better with my money, And this is a perfect opportunity, but I thought it would be at least 5 years out. And then he called in February and said, "I'm ready. Y'all need to take it over." And
in February, I remember you telling me about it. Oh, I don't know, 3, 5 months, 6 months ago or so, something like that. But here we are. And now we run a management firm for voiceover. So it's very. How does that work?
Well, basically what it is if you're an ad agency or an independent producer or anybody who needs to produce, if you own a business and you're like, I want to produce, I want to produce radio spots for my business. You generally, okay, let's say this. Let's say you're a service guy.
So now you can do radio. Remember, I talked to you a year or two ago about jingles and stuff like that. And
we don't produce them. We only provide the voice talent for them. So here's what you would do, Lonnie. You would say, I want to produce a radio campaign for my business. And you would hire a local production company who you felt was good, and they would write spots for you, and you'd go back and forth with them and figure out exactly.
I'm pretty limited to the provider, the people, in-house people at my radio station. I am very active on my local radio station. It's kind of cool.
That happens too. A lot of them do.
I'll go out to eat with my family, and I'll have my shirt on, and so, "Oh, you're the guy that I hear singing on the." Well, I'm like, "Well, it's not me singing," but it's like.
You have a beautiful
You're the Restore guy.
That's cool. That's awesome. That's another way you can do it.
I'm thinking, you haven't called me yet. I don't know who you are, but nice to meet you.
Book me for some jobs, man. I got my work ready to go. That's another way you can do it. A lot of radio stations will produce stuff in-house for you, and then you get a discount on the media buy. Anyway, the radio people or the production company people or the producers call us and say, "Okay, we need voices. We need somebody to read this spot. We need her to sound like a mom. We need somebody we need kids for this thing. We need, a really booming older voice for this thing, you know, and they give us that, and we send it out to our roster of talent, have them audition, and then they cast from that. Or sometimes they'll go out to multiple agencies or management companies. We're technically a management company.
And I do see, just for your knowledge, I'm sure you know this, but I do see your little verbiage out there on Facebook every now and then. I'm looking for an Asian male or a Hispanic female, or I see your things out there.
Oh yeah. Right now, if there are any young, cool sounding African American male or female voice talents listening, and you have a home studio, please contact me. We're currently casting something right now. Anyway, yeah,
we're getting off track. We're talking like
getting
friends,
off track, but that's kind of how the flow of business works. And then the talent does the job. We bill for the job. We take a commission, then we pay the talent, and everybody's happy.
And what's that learning curve been like for you?
Well, the learning curve has been the volume of emails. The learning curve has been people don't pick up the phone as much, and everything is done over email. In fact, sometimes it's very hard to get a producer on the phone. And I am spending a lot of time training the newer, younger producers and how business is done. And I'm learning, you know, we would like everything to be union, but it can't be because it's just not. So we have kept our non-union rates, and this was very important to Richard too, and we're carrying this through. We keep our rates, our talent pay rates, in line with union. We keep everything's been devolved because you can go to Fiverr and get somebody to do a VO for $5. You know?
Really?
Is it any good? I don't know. I haven't been on Fiverr to audition people, so I don't know. But we're trying to keep a decent pay rate and trying to keep people from, you know, bailing and being like, screw it, we're going to go to Fiverr and get somebody for $20, you know, to do a national commercial.
Yeah.
So that's been, it's a learning curve. It's a pain point that we have. And for the most part, most of our regular clients understand this, and they want professional voice talent who are very easy to work with, who will knock it out really quickly because nobody has time to dwell on anything. And if you're working with somebody who's inexperienced, like Fiverr, I've heard some horror stories, but you know, we're just trying to keep that going, keep the decent rate of pay.
Sounds
going.
like we have the same nightmare, because one of my biggest, I'm humble enough to know I don't know everything, and I'm asking people. Nobody knows the answer, but I get you want to hear my email, Anna?
Yeah.
I'll get an email off my webpage. How much is it to get rid of bat droppings out of an attic? I don't know. I say, well, there's a lot of variables. This needs about a 5 to 15 minute conversation. Here's my cell. Call me. No. Just how much is it? I don't know. Are you talking, you got a, 18-inch clearance? You got a 30-foot clearance? Or, you got knob and tube? Do we have asbestos? Do we have tight quarters? I mean, there's so many.
Right.
I can't just tell you, oh, it's $5 a square foot, or,
right.
Exactly. And I don't want to tell you $5 a square foot, and I show up and it's like, oh no, this is more like $15 a square foot. Then you're mad at me because
you can't misquote. Absolutely.
Right. And
that's why, and that happens.
How much does it run? Yeah, it drives me nuts, and I don't know. I don't know how to combat with that.
He who names the first number and it's wrong loses. Yeah.
Yeah, in the sales world, the first one that speaks loses. Right.
Exactly. Yeah, we have clients who will say, "Hey, I have a client who, they're going to have a bunch of TV scripts, a bunch of radio scripts, and a bunch of tags." And they're all 30 seconds and they're all whatever. And then we're like, great. I said, can we see the scripts? We don't have scripts yet. They're still writing them, but here. Okay. So we quote it out. Everything's fine. And then they come back and they say, oh, actually these scripts are all for, this use and not that. And then they get upset when it winds up costing them more, and
Sure.
I'm like, what are you going to do? But
I would love to know how to combat that. I mean, because at the millennial ages and stuff, they text and email, and my job is so seldom can I just tell you, oh, it's $200 or oh, it's $3,000 or
I know, it's always more complicated.
Yes, and they just don't want to pick up the phone. They'd rather spend 45 minutes going back and forth via text when I'm busy She was like, give me, I'll give you 15 minutes in the truck. I'll go sit outside. I'll give you 5-10 minutes. We can answer everything. But no, then I reply, then it takes them 12 minutes to return it. And then, it's like, just call me. Just call me. We can lay a lot of this out.
That's what I basically, I always write back and say, happy to lay this out for you. Or I just pick up the phone and I call them and I leave a message. And then I write a response back saying, I just left you a message. Give me a call at your convenience. We'll go over all your questions. It'll be easy. And then I don't say anything else. I have them, hit a response.
Yeah. If they don't call, I guess that's your answer.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what else goes on behind the scenes with the voiceover work? I mean, I'll tell you one thing that kind of blew my mind. I've texted you in the past and you'll say, hold on, I'm recording. And I'm like, wow, you're like working and texting. And you were like, don't you work and text? Yeah. It's like, in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking you're just, voicing, and I don't know what I'm picturing you with your headphones on, your microphone in your face and all this. And then you're texting in between takes. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I can text him on my job. It's just a day at the office for me. So what else goes on behind the scenes?
When I'm actually doing a session as talent, there's a lot of downtime in the middle of the session. Like, obviously I'm not texting while I'm in the middle of doing a take, or I'd be not servicing the client very well because I need to be focused on reading it. But there's a lot of times when they're just having internal discussion and I'm like, well, I'm going to check my phone, And I try not, when I'm in person, I try not to bring my phone into the booth with me because I don't want to be easily distracted by grabbing the phone and be disrespectful, because it is their time. They're paying me for that time. But when I'm at home and they're going to go into like big discussions about maybe we should change the text and say it this way. I do listen to them, because a lot of times they're like, did you get that? We need to say this. But if they put me on mute and do their discussion internally, which is often how it happens, I'll just check my phone, and that's when I'm like, I'm in the middle of the session. Like, I can text, but I can't, talk or whatever.
Sure. Same here. I tell my friends and family, like, call me, call or text. If I'm not busy, you'll get a response. If I'm with a customer or whatever, then I'll put you to the top of the list, and I'll get back to you when it's convenient. So
yeah, exactly.
So anything else you want to talk about with voiceover? I mean, it does fascinate me. It's just like I just didn't know that there was a whole world around voiceover work, but
it is very strange.
I mean, you have so many.
Then when you need a voice, you're like, hey, what do we do? Then you come.
Yeah, you were the first one I thought of whenever I was wanting a voiceover. Well, voiceover and jingle stuff, but so we talked about voiceover. You've probably 2 years now you've been doing stand-up, or has it been 3?
3 years.
Has it been? Okay.
Years. It's been about 1.5 years. I've been doing it as a dual act with my husband. And I'm
still dying to see that.
It's very fun, especially if anybody is in a long-term relationship or been married. It'll be very relatable. And it kind of came about because it was like, I was doing jokes about him, and then he was doing jokes about me and his stand-up. And I was like, wouldn't it be interesting if like you could actually get the response of the person? Because it's not fair. It's one-sided. I know we all laugh, but I'm like, I wanted to be like, hey, that joke he just said, this is BS, and here's why, And so we figured out. We've been writing for a while, and we have about a half hour now. And I think we're shooting for February, but it's probably going to be March or April. We're going to shoot our own special. We're going to get a thing and a venue and shoot our own special.
Oh, no kidding. And so not only are you going to be one of the featured guests on a new upcoming documentary that we're all involved in, but you're going to have your own. Is it going to be on Netflix? Can I watch it on Netflix?
I hope so.
Yes.
We'll find out. We'll find out. Or Amazon or Hulu, I'm not sure. But yeah, we're working on that. We're performing, as many times a week as we possibly can, so that keeps us busy in the evening.
Your schedule, girl, is outrageous. I mean, you're getting up at 5 or 6 a.m. and then East Coast time and West Coast time and
yes. And part of that is I need to check East Coast emails, and I want to make sure that, like, this morning I got up at 6, which is a little late for me. And I had an email from 415 from somebody looking for, because it's political season. So we're getting we have to, it's like instantaneous turnaround to get the political ads done. And but Vinny Tordrich said something to me about a year ago. He was like, you're at that age that if you're not going to exercise, your body is going to fall apart and you're going to be one of those old ladies who has no strength and like a hunchback and like, you know what I mean? Like brittle bones. And that scared me enough to be like, all right, I'm going to get it together with exercise and just make sure I wake up early enough to do that, because there's just you can't ignore it. You can't.
Yeah.
Or you're going to pay.
So are you going to the meetup in New York City?
I believe I am on November 16th. And then I fly out of New York on November 17th, but I will be there that Friday night. And what I'm hoping
so you're not going to do a show?
Well, I'm hoping Lauren and I will book a show that Friday night so that everyone can come to it and then we can all hang out and have a cocktail afterwards.
Gotcha. I don't know if I'll be there or not. I have a place to stay if I go in Harlem, but I don't know if I'm going to be there. There's some stuff there.
You do have a place to stay in Harlem.
Yes. Never been in New York City, and my Midwestern point of view of Harlem is based on TV, so I don't know.
Harlem's actually, it's totally different than how that used to be portrayed on TV. It's totally different.
And that's what Trey and Amber tell me, that it's not like what you think it is. But I'm like, I've never been in New York City. I've never been around 8 million other people, or 12 million, or whatever.
It's a lot.
Whatever it is. It's like...
Last night, so I live in kind of a little like residential area of LA called North Hollywood. And it's like a bunch of little valley tract homes, 1,400 to 1,600
and your
square foot
street name
homes.
is stupid.
It is so dumb. It sounds like a sex act. We won't say it on the air.
But it's the first time I saw it, I was like, really?
I know. And I live right behind a Target. And we were driving home, and there was a Target truck. It was nighttime. There's a Target truck. It looked like it was halfway turned over. And I was like, what's going on? And all these people are gathered around. Well, I guess the Target truck, when it turned into the Target, clipped these parked cars and dragged them underneath the truck. And I'm guessing he didn't realize it until after it had gotten pretty bad. And so all these people are crowded around. And so we're like, well, let's get the dog and go for a walk and take pictures, of course, like everybody else, all the other neighbors. And so we did that, and we brought our little small dog. She's an Italian Greyhound. She's a small dog. And
let me guess. Her name is Izzy.
Yes. And Izzy basically crapped a brick. Like, she couldn't handle a crowd of people. And then there was cops, and I was like, this is New York, just like 1% of New York at all times. They're just people and a truck turned over and sirens and I was like, that's why we can't bring our dog to New York. She would literally just have a nervous breakdown.
Oh, no kidding? So you board her?
No, we have a friend come stay at the house.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
See, that's the good thing about knowing a lot of comics is that they want to come hang out and get away from their roommates, so they'll come and stay at the house and watch the dog and watch free cable.
Sure. So you also, I introduced you as the best voice in podcasting, or I think I did. So you're a podcaster.
According to Vinny, yes.
Well, if you say it enough, what do they say? If you repeat a lie long enough, it becomes truth.
That's right. That's right.
See?
Yep.
Well, we're working on it. We're trying to help you out. So you're a podcaster.
Yes.
And a cookbook author. That's where
that's how we met.
Well, we met through podcasting.
Yeah.
And then your cookbook came out, and man, what a wonderful gift. I mean, that you have provided.
Oh, that's
I don't know
nice.
if you've sold. Have you sold 1 million copies yet?
No. I've sold a lot of copies, and I'm very appreciative that people like the book. I'm honestly surprised because it was such an out of left field. Like, doing the dual act makes sense because I've always done comedy. Doing anything voiceover related, even getting the management company, which seems crazy because I'm talent, but it makes sense. But doing the cookbook and the podcasting, I mean, I did have a food blog for years, but now obviously I've switched the angle to be NSNG. But it didn't, publishing a book was never something I thought I would do, and nor did I think it would be as successful as it has been. So I feel very humbled and appreciative that people like it. Well,
when you do good work, good work brings breeds good success. So that we eat out of it all the time.
Oh, that's nice. That makes me happy to hear. Well, I got the new one coming out in March.
Yeah,
though.
when's that? Oh,
I had to postpone it. In fact, you know what? Amazon, I told them to change it to March 12th, 2019, and they transposed it to December 3rd, so 12/3/2019. And I almost left it in as that. So I was like, oh.
So what's the hold on? I mean,
time.
I know you well enough that you had to you were looking at, the photography and stuff, and hiring that out was going to price the book out of,
right.
Most people's hands and stuff. So for the listeners that don't have this cookbook, just the pictures alone is worth it, not to mention what you're going to get out of cooking out of it. But, the food.
For the listeners, don't forget to plug the book.
Oh, have we not said Eat Happy?
Oh, the name of the book. I am terrible at plugging things. I forget everything. I get involved in conversations, and then I'll hang up and be like, I never talked about the book. Or much less mention the title, Eat Happy.
Sorry.
Yes, that's
Eat
all right.
Happy. Eat Happy. But so you did all the photography work. You wrote the foreword yourself. You laid it all out. I remember getting a pre-PDF thing and found a duplicate or two of the same recipes and stuff. But
you totally helped me out. Oh my God! You know what? When I first put it out, I didn't even realize it's physically difficult to put a book out because you hire people to edit it and review it and make sure there aren't any typos and make sure everything flows and makes sense. And with cookbooks, you have to make sure, for example, that the ingredients appear in the recipe instructions in the order they appear in the ingredient list. You have to make sure, like a mistake you would find, it would say like 1/2 butter and not say like cup or teaspoon or tablespoon. Like it was and you would swear, I've looked at this a million times. I never saw that was missing. And it's crazy making. And you work so hard. I worked so hard on it. And the first round of printing, there were still some mistakes. And so that's the good thing about self-publishing, is that they didn't print like 100,000 copies. I printed a small amount of copies and was able to make changes. So now it's better. Oh, a major mistake that I made was I didn't include an index in it. And a lot of I
was just going to mention that.
Yeah.
Everybody threw their arms up and they were ready to ride in the streets over an index.
They were.
Really? Come on.
And and that's because I had thought of it, but most of my favorite classic cookbooks don't have an index, and some of them do, but not all of them. And I thought I didn't give it much thought because the way I read cookbooks is I'm like, oh, I like this one, and I dog-ear the page, or I put a Post-it on it, or
right.
I put a piece of, you know what I mean? I read it differently, I think, but when people were rioting in the streets, they were absolutely 100% correct. That was an oversight that I should have pursued. And so I was able, on the second round of printing onward, have an index made, which was very expensive, but I did it, and I'm going to do it obviously for the second book. But, it was a big learning experience, and hopefully I can apply those things that I learned to the second book, and I won't screw up as badly as I did. And there will be more pictures because I've learned more now with food photography. But the recipes are done.
Anna?
Yeah.
What was the biggest surprise that you learned putting out your first book, Eat Happy?
The biggest surprise? I mean, the index was that was the
biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the $1 million question that everybody, by the way, listeners, Anna Vocino wrote the single best cookbook out there ever. She has 1,000-something reviews with a 4.8, 4.9, out of 5 stars ranking on it. But the $1 million question, where, let's be honest, where you do tend to get dinged is, are you going to have nutritional information in the second publishing?
Nope.
I understand why. I just had to ask.
I know.
Kind of tease you a little bit.
Well, this is a sign that the book is getting out there to people who aren't listening to the podcast that I do with Vinny, Fitness Confidential. This is a sign that the book is getting out there to a newer audience that's not just this insular group that we've created in this platform. And that's a good thing. It's tricky because diet mentality is huge in this country, and yet we're not losing weight.
Let's track it. Let's put it on an app.
Let's count it. And I was the exact same way. And I've dealt with anorexia multiple times. I've dealt with always being on a diet because I'm an actor and I have to make sure that I'm skinny for the audition. All that stuff, all that like stereotypical actressy stuff. That was me. And I was also a dancer, and I just had such a messed up relationship with food. And you can even hear in the early episodes of the podcast I do with Vinny, me struggling with like, what do you mean don't count? What are you talking about? So I get it.
It's a mind shift.
It's a paradigm shift. And so the clarity that I've received from the first cookbook into the second one, and this is the clarity that I will be putting into the beginning of the second book to hopefully be in the look inside preview that hopefully a couple people will read, is that this is not a diet book. This is once you've shifted your paradigm to cut out sugars and grains, you're going to cook these kinds of recipes, and you're going to get full when you're full, and then you're going to eat food when you're hungry, just like humans were intended by our maker. And I'm not a religious person, but you know what I mean? Like, we weren't intended to count all these calories, and it's too crazy making. So no, I will not be putting nutritional information in, because this is not a diet book. It's a way of eating.
Good. I'm glad to see you're not, because it's so simple. The people that say, I sent this back because it didn't have nutritional information. And it's like, really?
Well, it's a shame, because then they miss out on what could be good, fun recipes. Even if you don't use the recipes and you just look, I like looking at cookbooks saying, ooh, I'm going to make that, but I'm going to take it and change it to this. Like, to me, that's exciting. I like doing that. But if they need to have that nutritional info because they're going to just crumble without it, then it's not the right book for you. Send it back. Right.
Send it back. But what people don't stop to think about is, if you put like your, sausage and apples. I don't know what you call it, but that's what we call it.
It's just a little fry up. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So you say put one apple in there. Well, okay, one apple. Is that a Fuji apple? Is that a Gala apple? Is it delicious Johnny Appleseed, or is it one of 1,000 different variations? And is it small? Is it medium? Your definition of one medium apple and my definition of medium, and totally different.
That's the tricky part about food. That is tricky. And I do try to specify as much as possible. However, that's also what the notes are for before the recipe. I personally like Gala apples, can't get enough of them. And, but I don't do Red Delicious because I think they're too sugary, and I don't do Granny Smith because I think they're too tart. But that's that's where I land, is Gala apples or Fuji apples. But again, sometimes I'm not specific because I want you to be able to choose what you like. And because there's too much in our culture of, we have to listen to what all the authority figures say. And I would rather you look at this cookbook and go, yes, there's specific instructions, but I don't care if you don't follow them. I don't care if you want, people write me, can I substitute salmon instead of chicken? Of course. Have at it.
Please.
That's wonderful.
In fact,
and send me a picture. I think it's great.
Exactly. And the single best recipe that you came up with was so simple. And the first time I saw it, it's like, why didn't I do this? Bacon broccoli.
Broccoli.
It's the simplest. It's the easiest. It's the most delicious. And actually, my variation is, that's my clearinghouse. Whenever I look in the fridge and I see, I got some cilantro that's about to go bad. I got some spinach in there. Yeah, I got some broccoli and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts and whatever veggies I have there. It's about to go bad. Roast it up with bacon, and what a delicious dish. And it's different every time.
I agree. That's a template I have too. And if I have, if I do, even if I don't have the bacon, I still make the same recipe. I just add more salt. But if I have broccoli or cauliflower or what's the one, Brussels sprouts, anything like that is really good roasted and can be hearty. Yeah. I'll make it all. And that's the point of that. In fact, I thought for the second cookbook, I was like, girl, you better come up with some new recipes, because you're basically just making bacon broccoli with every vegetable. So like, you need to think outside the box a little more. So it was, it's always good for that.
Who doesn't like bacon though?
I know, it's wonderful. And most cooking, honestly, is a clearinghouse. A lot of these recipes that I've invented or that are now my regular go-tos were invented based on, what do we have? What are we about to run out on? What's about to go bad? What do I need to use up? And that's how you cook it.
In your new book, are you going to have a dessert section? I'm just talking as a friend that kind of knows, both sides of the aisle. But that
You're
was a bone of contention. Like, Yes.
Yes, I will. As you know, I have a philosophy of when you're going to have a treat made with real food. I am not into artificial sweeteners. Number one, from an aesthetic standpoint, I cannot stand the taste of them. I never could. Even stevia. Stevia to me tastes like sugar that's been filtered through dirty socks and tea leaves. Like, I don't get it. I don't like it.
I actually did that this morning. I know I got a brew right now.
Dirty socks, sugar. I prefer real sugar, but I also know that let's say when you go out and you get a what did I have? It was a very illustrative moment in my life. I was at a vegan bakery, and they had this like pistachio chocolate. I was with a friend who's vegan. I had this pistachio chocolate thing that was also gluten free because I have celiac, so I have to make sure that when I do have a little treat, it cannot have gluten. So I was like, oh, I'm going to try that pistachio chocolate thing, and I took a bite of it. And it tasted like it could have been amazing, but it had so much sugar, it felt like it punched me in the mouth. Now, you guys know when you give up sugar, you eat something sweet, it tastes too sweet. Mm-hmm. It's hard.
Even grapes or strawberries now.
Oh, yeah. And I always joke that I'm that a-hole who's at a party and I eat the strawberry. Like, that's my sweet treat. I eat a strawberry that's sitting out. And I'm like, you guys, this strawberry tastes like candy. It's amazing. And people are like, no, candy tastes like candy. So just back off. But, it changes your taste buds so that you can be that jerk at a party and think the strawberry tastes like candy. So I have made a dessert chapter where there are a lot of desserts with sugar in them, or forms of sugar, like coconut sugar, maple syrup, not coconut aminos, what is it called? Coconut nectar, date syrup, things like that. Honey. I do try to use like the lesser processed sugars, but guys, it's still sugar. So I'm not trying to...
Right.
I'm not BSing anybody. It's still sugar. It's still for a treat. But what I've done is made all of the recipes with the least amount of sugar possible to make the recipe work. Because on Thanksgiving, people don't want a pumpkin pie with fake sugar or no sugar. They want a pumpkin pie. They want to be able to enjoy that on Thanksgiving. Right. So that's why I'm providing those. And it is, again, it's a paradigm shift because we're used to saying, but I can't have that. I have to have artificial sweetener or else I'm going to lose my mind. And then they wind up having artificial sweetener every night, and then they never get off the sugar train, and then they give up the diet, and then they go right back to where they were. I would rather see people eat real food, and then when they have a treat, have a real treat. See how it makes you feel. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe you'll never have a real treat again. Maybe you'll be able to manage it. You're a different person now that you've given up sugar.
And Anna, I just had a thought. This is free advice, so you're getting what you're paying for.
Yeah.
But when you get to the dessert section of your new book, how about some? It's a big stretch to ask people to read the intro and read the first 4 pages or whatever it is. How about
I wrote that. Nobody reads it.
I did.
I know you did. But, you guys are the best.
But how about a once you get to the dessert section on page, 185 or whatever, how about having that verbiage again? Like, this is my philosophy. This is what to expect. We use natural sugar.
That's a great idea.
We use sugar.
I think I did. I'm going to double check, but I think I did that at the beginning of this sweets chapter because it has been such a sore spot. But it's funny because if a book like mine that cuts out sugars and grains and everything, it cuts out grains and everything. There's no grains in the cookbook.
Right.
But the sugar, there in 8 of the 12 dessert chapters, dessert recipes, there is some form of sugar. So if a book cuts that out, it's automatically the assumption that it's a diet book. So A, it should have the nutritional info, and B, and I'm like, it really isn't. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we're adults. We're adults. Like, we can pick what we're going to make. And, I agree. I think I did repeat that because I just wanted to be really crystal clear. Like, just so you know, please don't eat these every day. I'm not saying that, but 100% of the people who have done NSNG, 100% of the people have had sugar again at some point.
Yep.
At 100%. And that's okay. You know what I mean? Vinny even says, like, he doesn't want you to, like, be that guy at your own wedding being like, no, thanks, I'm not going to have my own, you know what I mean? Like, enjoy your life. But for our day-to-day
Speaking
stuff,
of weddings. Speaking of weddings,
there's one coming up.
There is. And, I don't even think they're having a wedding cake.
They're rock stars.
Yeah.
They're having like cheese or something, like a cheese.
Yeah,
cake.
cheese. I don't know exactly what all it is, but yeah, like everything from start to finish is going to be edible in our world. But so
I got to say that was a great thing about going to the NSNG meetup in Seattle. It was a potluck, and like we could all eat everything, and it was cool. It was really fun.
But I bet. I haven't talked to you since you were there, but I bet 99% of them were your recipes.
Some of them, and then some of them were people's experimentations and their recipes. It was great. I was blown away. And also
that was a good idea.
Somebody made the shepherd's pie better than I make it. And I was like, yeah, I want y'all to cook for me.
You know what, Anna? I'm going to divulge a secret.
Yeah.
I've never made that shepherd's pie yet.
It's really good.
Oh man,
it's real good.
I have it.
Best.
It's such savory, wintry goodness.
That's what it looks like. That's what everybody says, and I always say I'm going to. But then the thought of ricing up cauliflower and squeezing and mashing.
Buy the bags of pre-riced cauliflower. Just do that.
But you don't have to like squeeze the living tar out of it and the kitchen towels and stuff to get the moisture out.
You do. But it's worth it.
Yeah, like the tater tots are awesome.
Yeah, but, I know. I'm going to make those this weekend. I'm going to make sausage and peppers this weekend and the cauliflower tater tots for football. Mm-hmm.
There you go. But cauliflower, anything, it just takes some work, and that's. I'm being honest. I'm just probably way too honest, but it's like, man, I want to do it, but it's just a thought of doing it for.
Well, you know what? It's funny.
So good.
That's why I invented the cauliflower. Oh, sorry, Ruel.
What is it called? Cauliflower, garlic, and heavy cream and butter.
Yeah, in the mash.
Misremembering. Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
So
there could be cream cheese in there too. Oh yeah, I invented the cauliflower pizza crust because the low carb pizza crust has almond flour in it, and I had a bunch of parents write me saying, "Do you have some alternatives?" Because I have kids with nut allergies, and of course that's how you get me in my heart, is if a kid has an allergy, I'm like, yes, I will figure this out. So I invented the cauliflower crust, but it does require more work. And then in the next cookbook, I'm going to have the pork rinds crust. So there's a variety of crusts now that people can make, depending on how much labor you want to put in and depending on what your particular allergy is. But
and you know what, Anna, I don't think I've told you this. I got a pizza joint literally a block and a half from my house, and the owner is a good friend of mine. And I told him, like, dude, listen to me. Trust me. Figure out a cauliflower crust pizza. And he did. He put it.
Oh, that's good.
Yes. And
he's going to make money from that.
He put it on the menu. It sells like hotcakes. I think it tastes better. Here's a secret. I've had his original crust, and I like the cauliflower better. Now, I will tell you, as a mass production, sometimes you can pick it up and eat it like a normal slice of pizza, and then sometimes it's so soupy and wet that it falls apart, and you got to use a fork. Big deal. I use a fork for every other meal. What's one more?
Right.
But
when you make it at home, you forgive that a little more. But if you're ordering it from a place, people might not be as forgiving. But
he put it on the menu, and it sells. I mean, he's keeping it on the menu. So,
great. I bet.
Or else, yeah. If it wasn't
sounds like there's an opportunity. Sounds like there's an opportunity for a companion book.
What?
Just the cauliflower.
Just the crust, like, eat crusty or crust happy.
Eat crusty. I think it's definitely the way to go.
There you go.
Well, Anna, I'm about to switch gears on you a little bit, but I haven't heard you mention anything about your marinara sauce stuff.
We're still trying to get the approval. Eat Happy Marinara is happening. We're just still trying to get the approval from the Tennessee Board of Agriculture. It's going to be manufactured in Tennessee. It's going to be all organic, no GMO, no sugar added. Obviously, the only sugar is going to be the naturally occurring carbohydrate that exists in tomatoes. That's it, and basil.
Do you have an expected date that is going to go live?
In fact, you're reminding me to write to the guy who I'm working with. I'm writing to him now. And a friend of mine owns a food company, so he's helping me with everything. But yes, we are very excited. It is happening, but I don't have a launch date. We just want to make sure that here's what they said. The Tennessee Department of Agriculture is concerned that the pH being a little high will result in a shorter shelf life. So we're figuring out if we need to add some citric acid to it, which is a natural additive that would, as you know.
You don't know this, but I have, we have a friend in the group that they are launching, if they haven't launched, they're soon launching a food distribution company in Canada.
Oh, that's amazing. So I need to get hooked up with them, is what you're saying.
Yes, I can get you in touch. I haven't talked to her for a little bit. I don't know where they're at on that, but it's happening if it hasn't happened already. So depending on your time frame and their time frame, might be able to try to get you in Canada, and that's a whole
that'd be amazing. Hoop,
Lonnie,
that's what I love about you. You're the big connector. I love it. You're such a good connector. You're always hooking people up.
Well, that's how I make a living, one way or another.
Good skill.
So have we talked, anything else you want to say about voiceover or acting or cookbook authoring, stuff like that? Anything else you want to say there?
I want to ask you a question real quick because I do have to go soon. I want to ask you about, so when I moved to California, there were no mosquitoes in the area that I lived in. And I've noticed the past 2 years there's more mosquitoes. And now I've noticed every day there's one mosquito in my office that bites my legs 100 times, and then I kill it. And then the next day there's another one, just one. And what do I do to get rid of it? Because you're going to know. Like, I don't know where they're coming from.
I subscribe to a service. Do you, nice segue, by the way. I was just about to ask you,
I know.
for a question for me. So
I do have a question. I always do. I'm always calling him going, what do I do? It said it smells. What is it? Help me out. Yeah.
What's this house that I'm about to buy? What's this look like?
What is this thing? Should I buy this house? What am I doing? And he's like, I have time to deal with your BS, Anna.
So do you, obviously, I'm assuming you have a pest control company that services your house?
Yeah, we have. Well, we've had exterminators come and spray.
Well, they're in my area. I'm assuming it's nationwide. There's a wonderful service out there that takes care of all the mosquitoes in your yard. My house is the neighborhood gathering spot every weekend because I subscribe to a service with my pest control company. I don't know the chemistry. I don't know how they do it. I just say, make them go away. And you can find that and it's well worth it. Everybody brings their kids over. I got toddlers to, teenagers coming over on weekends. We never know. It's an impromptu. We're very friendly, very, warm and welcoming. So everybody just comes over and we just throw fire in the grill and we just grill who has whatever meat and we just make a party out of it. But there is a service out there that takes care of 95% of the mosquitoes. You'll still get bit once or twice in 3 months, but that's nature,
That's okay. I can handle once or twice in 3 months. Every day I'm sitting in my own office getting bit by one mosquito repeatedly, and it's driving me crazy. So thank you.
Yeah,
I'll just go
look them up. I don't know anybody in your area, but my guy might. So he's a networker as well. So
cool.
Yeah. So let's shift gears again. Do you have a heart out?
I do. I have to get going. Yes. I'm sorry.
Okay. No biggie. Then I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you two questions.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're supposed to have a lightning round, right?
A little bit, something like that.
Okay.
So what is one thing, and I'm going to condense it since you got to go, and I kind of do too. But What is one thing that you wish people knew or understood or appreciated about voiceover work?
Oh, that it is more physically taxing than you would think. People think
How
that
so?
well, you're just talking into a microphone, but it's a performance thing. You're channeling all of your energy into it. When I do video games, that I try to schedule my video game sessions on Fridays so that I can rest all weekend and not speak. It's tiring. Or even podcasting and using that energy and being on. Being on takes energy.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people think like, well, you're only working for like half an hour. And I'm like, well, it's physically taxing, but also it's the use. So if you're only working half an hour, but like 10 million eyeballs are going to see it on TV, that has value, that I'm kind of answering with two things. But yeah, those are two things.
So it's physically taxing. Never knew. I just picture you sitting there in your office in your
just
makeshift
lounging.
garage.
Yeah. Flipping through a magazine and just saying, this week on ABC.
No, that's not what I picture. I picture you sitting there all studious with your headphones on and your microphone and your computer and that sort of thing. I just picture you sitting there. I didn't know you had to scream or, So I guess when you're doing...
I just did an audition for a video game that required a German accent and a lot of screaming and dying. And I was like, really? They're having us do this in the audition? At least wait for the session. And then I was like, oh, I hurt my voice a little bit and had to like chill for a little bit.
So did you die okay?
I thought so. I had to die like I was on fire. It was like
Die like you're on fire.
Good Lord.
Yeah. And now I need to drink some water.
That's how we're going to intro the Service Guys podcast moving forward.
I think now, if you have that isolated on its own track, that would be amazing.
There you go. So the premise of my podcast is, typically you are outside the box. Andy was last week. I haven't had our friend Vinny on yet, but I know he's kind of busy. So
he'll do it. He loves you guys.
I know he will. It's just like I know, I know too much. I just know he's slammed and stressed out. So I'll give him some time. But typically, us service guys, whether you get plumbers, me and plumbers, or you get all the service guys together, we always have crazy war stories. We have the customer from that has expectations that it's impossible for anybody to meet, that sort of thing.
I am so ready to answer this question.
Well, let's go. Let her rip.
I just had a session this week with the client from hell, and this has never happened to me. Listen, sometimes in voiceover, you get in, even if you've auditioned and they've heard your voice, sometimes you get in there and you do the job, and you're not quite what we want, or they change their minds and they go, you know what, we don't want a female to read on this, we want a male, or we want an African American person to read it. You know what I mean? They change their minds on what the voice is that they need, and that's fine, and you can get replaced. I have been the one who's been replaced. I have been the one who's replaced the person. So I've been on both sides of that. And so but this has never happened before. I am being directed by two ladies, and then about halfway through they call their client, who is also a lady, and I gotta say, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this never happens. It's usually a very male driven world, and I love it when it's some girl power going on in the session. It's nice. It's refreshing. So they are directing, and it's becoming very apparent that they don't know what they're doing. And I don't know if they've never done this before, or if they are not settled on what they want, or if they're just running behind and they only finish the scripts right before the session, so they're flustered. I don't know if the client's difficult. I don't know what the situation is. And unfortunately, talent is usually the last ones to know anything. But I've done this for 20 years, and I'm like, I got this. I'm going to help them so good. And it was for an outlet, a series of national outlet malls. And the whole job was 2 radio spots, 1 TV spot, and about 40 tags. And the tags were going to be like, check out the blah, blah, blah outlets near you in Foley, Alabama. Check out the blah, blah, blah outlets near you in Anaheim, California. Like just tags basically saying to go to the city where they are. And then they'll air those in the different and it was going to be a fairly lucrative job. And so, of course, I'm excited about that aspect too. And they booked me from 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Well, by close to 10:30 or 11, we hadn't even settled on the body of the first spot, the TV spot. I did probably 37 takes, which is not, I mean, I rarely do anything past 10 or 12 takes. Like, we just get it quickly, And I could tell they were frustrated. At one point, the lady goes, I'm hearing like an intake, like a gasping, like an intake of air. And I'm like, is that gonna be in? And I go, breathing? You mean you hear me breathing? And I was like, yes.
Don't breathe.
Don't breathe. Don't breathe. And I was like, yes, I am breathing. That needs to happen in order for me to be able to do my job. I do have to breathe, but don't worry. The engineer is going to cut it out. And then Jeff, the engineer, pipes and he's like, yes, don't worry. I will cut out the breaths. That's what they do. They cut out your breaths. And I think I was realizing, because they were going all around, I was realizing they don't think a human being is on the other end of the microphone because everything's done remotely. And they forget that.
So they don't think that you can hear them?
Well, I know that they could hear me because they were delivering all this craziness but I've never had a client say like, is that breathing? Like, I feel like she's breathing, and like, why is that happening? And then it just
Good Lord.
It devolved and got worse and worse and worse. And then finally they fired me in the middle of the session. And that has never happened.
No kidding.
Well, they didn't. The engineer comes on after 15 minutes. I'm just sitting there kind of hanging out. That's when I would check my phone and text you. And he goes, well, looks like they're punting. And I was like, what do you mean? What's punting? He's like, they're gonna punt. And I was like, oh, I'm being fired. Oh, are they going with somebody else? Or, and then I made sure that I got a kill fee because I was extremely annoyed.
No kidding. I'll have to ask you later what a kill fee is. I wish I could get it.
Oh yeah. You got to see if you can get a kill fee. I would not be annoyed. Listen, getting replaced happens, and it's definitely damaging to the ego, but it happens. It's the way that they were they finally got the client on, and she was like, I don't like it. Do it again. She was so nasty. And I was just like, whoa.
Wow.
I know.
We don't think about that kind of stuff.
But also because I'm here to help. I want to do a good job. Of course, I want the client to be happy. I want to do a good job. And also I've been the voice of like retail places for years. I was like, you guys, just let me do it. And they did. And actually they liked that take a lot. And then they played it for the client, and she goes, I don't like it. So I was like, all right, never mind. I tried.
Wow. So,
what are you going to do?
So you get fired. I mean, we've all been fired at least once in our life, but you get fired periodically, don't you?
Well, yeah. I mean,
maybe not like you're fired, but like,
well, yeah,
brutal,
you can be replaced. I mean, listen, this is ultimately a choice of subjectivity. If they don't want if they do the whole session, they edit it together with the music and the thing that's going on, and they don't like it, yeah, you can get fired. It's nothing you did. That's why you have directors directing you. You just have to do your best job. And for the most part, it works. And like I said, I've been the one replacing the voice they didn't like. And I've been the one who's the voice they don't like. It's just.
Right. How it goes. Same with me. Some people like me. Some people don't.
Yeah.
People that like me tend to pay more than my competition. The ones that don't like me, they just don't like me and they don't hire me.
They don't hire you. Exactly.
Exactly. So. Well, I know you're getting up on time, and I want to be respectful of your time, Anna. I do appreciate you coming on, though.
Thank you for having me on, you guys. I adore you both.
Thank you, Anna.
And I appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll be texting again in 5 minutes.
Maybe. So, Anna, you get to hear Ruel and I's awkward into our show. We haven't we don't know how to end the show very well, so I'm just being upfront and honest and out front on it. So it's a learning process, like you've done a few podcasts, not just the big one, but you've done a Yoda and me or something like that. So
yeah.
So this is so we're wrapping up here, and this is the part where Ruel and I will dance for our dollars, and to dance for our dollars, we beg for 5-star reviews.
Oh,
we don't
that's good. I believe I
4
gave you
stars.
one because I really enjoyed your episodes that I heard.
so yeah, for the listeners that are out there, if you've enjoyed learning a little bit about the behind the scenes of voiceover work and Anna's story and cookbook and stuff, or I'm still begging people to just leave a 5-star review and say Ruel doesn't talk enough. I just want it, any kind of verbiage. Doesn't matter what it says, just a 5-star review with some nice verbiage. And that puts a big smile on our face. So, and a lot have been coming in. So we're doing good. So with that, I'm going to close out the show. Thank Ruel for his time recording this.
Thank you, everybody.
And and I want to let everybody know this is Lonnie Beecham with Restore It Restoration with the esteemed Google Bull search. Google Bull. How do you say that? The first guess. Yes.
Google
for Anna Vocino and Ruel Abadam. Like I said, this is awkward. I don't know how to end it. So with that, I want
You're doing a great job, Lonnie.
May I just end it for you?
Yeah, this is Lonnie Beecham with Restore It Restoration. Get your life back to normal, and then give me some input, Anna, please.
I'd like to thank our guest, Anna Vocino. You can find her at annavocino.com, online on all the socials at Anna Vocino. I want to thank my producer and co-host, Ruel Abadam. I am Lonnie Beecham. Check us out at Restore It Restoration and the Service Guys podcast. Go on iTunes and give us a 5-star review. Those reviews are everything, and it helps other people find the content that they're looking for. That's it for us. On behalf of Anna Vocino and Lonnie and Ruel. Oh, wait, I'm Lonnie. I forgot I was Lonnie in the scenario.
Wait, I'm Lonnie.
Tagline, Service Guys podcast.
A German accent this time.
No, I can't do it.
On fire.
Anna, you're funny. So, with that,
all right.
Thank you all.
All right, thanks, guys.
They'll get your life back to normal. Lonnie with Restore It Restoration.
Hey guys, gals, ladies and gentlemen. This is Lonnie Beecham with Restore It Restoration. I'm the first one in this meeting thing. We use Zoom to record these podcasts. So I'm the first one in there right now. I kind of like to ramble and talk off the cuff while I'm waiting for Ruel and today's guest to come on the line. So I just thought I would update you all. I know that you all are just hanging on every word I say and just can't wait for updates and stuff like that. So last week, Ruel and I were just kind of talking, mostly as old friends, just kind of, chewing the fat, as they say. And I made mention about a mold situation where an older man. He was actually rather grumpy. In fact, he's so grumpy, I probably won't even work for him. He's already that grouchy on the phone. I guess I'll go meet him. Sometimes people sound meaner on the phone than they really are or what they really intend. But so anyway, I was talking about, I got a visual mold report last week from a guy. Actually, it was a home inspection, and the home inspector is also my mold tester hygienist guy. And he gave him a visual assessment of the mold situation. I remember telling you all last week that, it's just a visual, and this guy wanted me to come in and give him a bid and an estimate on his mold remediation with very limited data. I need lots of data when it comes to mold. So he didn't want to pay for it last time. And I told him the same thing that he'd been told by everybody else, that for a mold remediation company to come in, we need lab work and we need data, and we need to know what the baseline is and what the benchmark is, and go from there. So I sent him back to the home inspector guy and said, you really need to have a air sample test done. We need to know what kind of mold it is, how bad it is, what kind it is, where it's at, those sort of things. And so I got updated today and found out that yes, that guy actually had the test done, and it is much worse than what it was last year. And so now we're starting the process of working out our schedules to get together to come in and assess the damage based on this mold protocol. So just thought I'd let you all know that. I don't know if Ruel will keep this in or put it at the end of it or what. But anyway, Ruel's texting me now. Some of the behind the scenes sausage making stuff, podcasting, just for you all to know. It's kind of fun. I mean, I line up guests in between my busy schedule and in between running around, and I'm always scouring Facebook groups, both so I'm in several Facebook groups, and a lot of them are industry folks. A lot of my industry guys are still swamped this time of year, so I'll get more of them on here after it cools off and out of the heavy season for us. And then my other tradesmen friends, electricians and plumbers and HVAC guys, they also tend to slow down in the winter as well. So we can we'll have some we'll keep a variety of guests coming. So just wanted to update you, let you all know kind of what's going on, and that's it. Now I'm going to sit quietly and wait. Lonnie with restoration done. I think I might have to turn off my text notifications. And a dear friend of mine is blowing me up on Messenger right now, so I think I'm going to have to turn these off. Restoration down. I will admit it is kind of cool to have your name in a jingle that's played on the radio and put on Facebook and in a podcast. I paid a lot of money for that jingle. I like it. It's kind of catchy. Restoration down. I hear Ruel.
Hey.
I was rambling.
Is it just you and I at the moment?
It is. I don't hear Anna.
Okay, let me double check to make sure that this thing is recording.
It said it is. Oh, well, it said it is. Doesn't mean it is.
Okay. Awesome. Let's see. How are you doing, Lonnie?
I'm okay. Got text with Anna a little bit ago, and she's going to talk about something on our podcast that has been alluded to on her podcast a time or two, but she said, she always said she wasn't ready to discuss it. I guess she's going to today, though.
Cool.
So guess we'll have to tune in and find out.
Mm-hmm. I'm eating guacamole.
You are?
Mm-hmm.
With a spoon or?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw in some tortilla chips later.
Tortilla chips?
Yep. Going to give myself some inflammation.
Oh, crap. I forgot to go by the bank earlier. I guess I should I text Anna?
Sure.
I know if she does the Zoom thing, you just emailed me 7 minutes ago. I just now got it. Just now popped up. Let me find her text. And she didn't reply to my last one. I want to text her if she's familiar with dialing in on Zoom or three-way. I've never texted three-way. I've never asked Anna if she wants to do a three-way. Oh, she's
hopping on.
Oh, she didn't get a Zoom invite.
She checked the wrong inbox.
Oops. You have her. I'm going to, since I got it pulled up, I'm going to forward this to Anna. Oh, I guess I probably shouldn't say her email. I was going to say.
Yeah, good idea. Otherwise, we'll end up at the end of this podcast.
Her text is funny. I'll tease her when she comes on the line. So I sent the link to after last Monday's podcast. I'm wondering. I thought I had her personal email, but I know several, and I thought one was personal, and she said it before. There you are. I was just there you go. I just finished the text for you.
Oh, great. Hi.
How you doing, Anna?
Everybody?
How are you, Anna?
Hey, Anna.
Yeah.
When we're recording on Zoom, we don't have to tell each other, turn your video off.
No.
Like your Mondays and Friday shows and stuff.
We've been doing Zoom for like 6 months.
I know, but every now and then he apparently goes to old habits or something. And
his stuff
pixelating.
His stuff still freezes. It's really, he's a mess. Anyway, let's talk about our time.
do you all record video or when you all are on Zoom together? Or?
We're supposed to, but neither one of us. He has to put some big backdrop up, and I need to put a little bit of makeup on. And we're always like, let's do it now, because nobody has any time. So
right, nobody does. And reading through your bio, I don't know how you breathe.
I'm no busier than anybody else, but I don't know how anybody does it.
That's what makes life fun.
I guess so. I've about had it, so this might be the I've had it episode.
Oh, don't break any news like that on this show. Actually, if you do, the ratings might go up.
Say something exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, break it.
I'm going to quit everything and move to the country.
Yeah, move to Missouri. So we ready to get this? I guess you know we're recording already, right?
Are we? I figured.
Yeah. So you ready? You ready to do the intro and get this thing started?
I'm ready. I'm going to mute myself till you introduce me.
Well, you don't have to. We're more conversational. Have you not hung on every word we've said on this podcast?
No, but I'm sure I'll make a noise that will not be good. Listen, I'll pipe in if I need to pipe in.
Oh, you're the professional. So, well, excuse me.
This is another Coffee with Heavy Cream production.